Hello to all of our YouTube viewers. Our podcast listeners will not get the gift of what we're about to show you. So today we're interviewing our good friend, my good friend Danielle. But as we were preparing for the interview, Teresa showed us a visual surprise, and a little someone special got a makeover. And so we want to show our YouTube listeners and viewers the big deal. Teresa, do you want to?
Well, yeah. So a lot of you don't know, when I'm sitting here podcasting, I have this dog, which by the sounds of it, I don't really like the dog. The dog is just a part of our family. And he's fine. He's cute, but the dog did just get groomed. Here he is. This is Emmett for everybody.
Look at his bow tie.
He's got his little Christmas bow tie. He's all of about maybe 8 pounds. His name is Emmett. And yes, a lot of times when I'm worried he's going to bark, I put him on my lap and you can't see him and he's just chilling with me. So,
Yep. Sometimes she swears at him before we get started.
Right.
Yapper. Stop barking.
Shut up, dumb dog. But yeah, he's cute. He's a good dog.
He is a good dog. He's a good dog.
Yeah.
Okay. With that, I'm going to get us started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hormone Genius podcast. Today, Teresa and I get to interview the lovely Danielle Martens. Danielle wears many hats as a wife, mom, femme instructor, hormone coach, postpartum doula, and client care coordinator at Guiding Star Cedar Valley. She is known as a mom to everyone she meets, and I can attest to that. Her heart is to serve others through hospitality and have fun along the way. And then just a few fun facts about Danielle. She can juggle, which I think is awesome, Danielle. She has run a marathon and she can sing some mean karaoke. So with that, Danielle, we want to welcome you and just start off a little bit about how you find yourself in this spot right here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I actually can't believe I found myself in this spot here, but really excited to share my story and journey with everyone. But yeah, I just unpack a little bit more. I live in Cedar Falls, again, with my husband, Seth, and son, Bentley, who will turn 4 in a short week, which is so insane to me, but awesome. But yeah, kind of unpacking a little bit of what I do during the day at Guiding Star Cedar Valley, which we know that Jamie founded us. So I love that we've just been connected at the heart for so many years, but love that I'm on this journey with her. And so being able to share more about what I do there, I just love having those conversations with Jamie. But anyway, what I get to do as a client services coordinator is walk with women in their journey of understanding their fertility naturally through FEM, but also explaining just kind of what our services look like within natural family planning. I get lots of phone calls every week. And so I'm excited to share my story because every time I get those phone calls about a woman wanting to become a mom, it just pulls at my heartstrings. And I love being able to be invited in that journey with her. So that's a really big piece of what I do, is just share what that looks like, what the services look like at Guiding Star in terms of understanding our fertility. Another big portion of what I get to do is walk alongside women in their pregnancy and postpartum journeys, which is just absolutely beautiful. It's such a huge transition, no matter if it's your first time becoming a mom or a mom of 5 and welcoming number 6 into your family. I love that I get to be a part of that and just, again, share what referrals we have and just that extra support person for them in that time. And then as a postpartum doula, I just love seeing moms in postpartum time. We love babies. We're like, the baby's so cute. We love the baby, but mom sometimes goes unseen. And so I really want to take that time in those appointments to see her and truly just get a feel of how she's doing and affirming her in that time. It's just beautiful. I was just actually texting with a mom who's kind of struggling with some breastfeeding. And so being able to cheer her on in this time is just an honor for me. And then also walking with women and holding space for them and couples in those who have experienced a miscarriage or the loss of an infant. And, God has really just placed empathy on my heart to sit with women in that time. I've not experienced that, but being able to just hold that space and be someone that they can cry with, or just have someone listen to them, but also, again, offer what are those referrals or resources that would be helpful in their grieving journey. So that's kind of unpacking what I get to do daily, which is literally not a job to me. I'm like, this does not feel like a job. It's just beautiful to be able to be invited in that space and mom all the moms and be like the office mom. And, I'm just a mom everywhere. So
I can attest to that. Danielle is definitely like, she moms me all the time. It's so cool.
Just like a mom, you probably don't have any time for anything else. So then I hope you take time to take care of yourself, Danielle, because that sounds like a really busy life you have.
Yeah, it is. Yes, I get my workout out in the mornings. So yes, I do take care of myself in that way. So yeah, just guiding star, but also being femme trained and offering that service as well within that space. And then
Danielle, not to interrupt you, but can you go through just what femme is? So a lot of people are probably hearing that and they're like, what is she talking about when she says femme? So give us a little overview of what you've learned and what femme is.
Yeah, thank you for stopping me there, because sometimes I forget, being in this world, you're like, you say the thing, but people don't always know. So FEM stands for Fertility Education and Medical Management. And it's a model of fertility awareness and understanding what your body's doing in your cycle. And so what I usually do is I sit with younger women kind of in that space with them of just really simply learning what are those biomarkers within their cycle to understand when they're fertile. But really look at that overall cycle for overall health. There's so many women, again, you guys talk all the time on here about, I went to the doctor and they told me to go on the birth control pill because I have acne. Well, this method is a beautiful method that allows young women to really understand what is happening and where are maybe some of those imbalances that are causing some of those symptoms. So again, just sitting in that space with them and helping educate them on what that is. So,
and FEM is the usage of the cervical mucus observation, right? And then also the LH strips.
Yep. You also learn LH testing within that method as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's an app as well, correct, Danielle, where young people, of course, all have smartphones. So it's an app and it's free as far as I understand it. So a lot of my college girls that are out there seem to gravitate towards that because it's, something they can have easy access to and is easy to learn. So.
Yes. Yep. It is. It's very easy. It looks beautiful, which is helpful too, in terms of kind of digging in and showing young women the beauty of their design, but having something that's beautiful to kind of track alongside that is an awesome resource. So
for us women, that's really important for sure. Okay. So Danielle, you gave us an overview of your role, like as mother, as wife, but as like a professional who has made it her mission to just share this deeply seated conviction with the world, right? So Danielle, share with us where that conviction came from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to just give a quick little overview of like growing up and then start with that conviction. I grew up, there's 8 of us kiddos in our family, just a nice, big, amazing family. I was number 6 in that lineup. So had lots of older siblings that had families as well ahead of me. Grew up with my nieces and nephews, like some of them are my best friends right now, in that time, but just had a lot of people around me, always taking care of somebody, as you can kind of get that theme here, So always had kiddos around. I always told my mom, like, I want to do something with moms and babies, but I never knew what that was. It wasn't like a nurse. I never felt strongly with that. So, came to college and still had that in the back of my head. I always said that, and kind of went into that social services field. So graduated with family services, but literally didn't know what I wanted to do with that, as most young women are, right? We're kind of like, what do we do? Especially when it's laid so deeply in our heart to become a wife and a mom is really what I wanted, but came to college to receive that degree, and then actually kind of veered to a different direction of early childhood. And I was at the university here in town as a teacher for young kiddos. And I don't think I even made the connection that I worked with moms and babies until literally a few years ago. Like, it was just in a different capacity as a teacher, but really I was there to support that mom. I was in an infant room, and you know what it's like to like drop your baby off. I didn't know what that was like when I was there, but to drop your baby off to somebody to care for them daily, that takes a lot. That takes bravery. It takes courage to say yes to what God's calling me to do, but I have to drop my kiddo off, And so I never understood until recently what that really meant. But I was working with moms and babies. So anyway, making that connection and kind of coming to my story and unpacking what that conviction was. But, met Seth, we were older. I was in my upper 20s. I say older, that's young now to me, but right. You kind of think, oh, I'm going to get married, and have lots of kids right away. That was kind of what my story I thought was going to be. But I was older, nearing 30. Seth was already in his 30s, and we got married in 2012. But leading up to that, I remember having a conversation with my mom, who used natural family planning, right? There's 8 of us. There's a few kiddos in heaven, of course, as well with that, and thinking that's really not for me, but I was open to life. So there was just like this confusion there that I think a lot of us have as we become older, and especially as we begin careers first. Like, I had this weird, like, I want to be a mom, but yet I know I'm called to do something else as well. And so I was just confused that I was open to life, but the birth control pill felt like that was the choice I needed to make in that moment. And my mom, I remember her saying, like, you can do natural family planning, but that looked different for her than anything now that I know. But taking her temperature, I'm like, I can't take my temperature every day. I don't get up at the same time. Like, that's confusing. But she didn't know any other resources, other than what she had done. And so unfortunately, I made that step to start on birth control, but right away felt super convicted that there was something that I wasn't supposed to be doing that. I didn't know for what reason, but it just felt wrong. And I also felt in my body of like mood, things were just weird. It was not me. It felt bad. And I remember my sister saying she had tried that and had headaches and just like physical symptoms, but a lot of mood issues. And so I was like, this is not what I want. And God totally showed up and was like, ding, here's Jamie. And she posted on Facebook her new journey of becoming a fertility care practitioner. And I was like, what is this? This seems weird, but I'm like, maybe this is my answer. And I wasn't connecting the dots yet at that point of like natural family planning, fertility care, educate. Like, I didn't know what those pieces meant. But I was ready for something different right away. And that it had only been a couple months. So
I remember you were like my second client of all time.
Yeah. It was your first intro session.
Yeah, of all time.
Yes. It was
awesome. Girl.
Yeah. So that was in 2012, the fall of 2012. And we started tracking. I remember meeting in Jamie's basement, and trying to learn all the things and, really grabbing onto the fact that it was something more natural. I've always been more natural minded. So I loved that piece of it. And I think reflecting now, if I could say, when I say birth control and you think of the birth control pill, you think of like control is the word that's used, but really I wanted control. I wanted control. That pill was controlling me. I wanted to take that control. And so I love the fact that I had the ability to do that and truly understanding what my body was doing, because Seth and I, we were older, we did not know the things. And so, your other podcasts of like the things you don't learn in sex class, 100% true. You're like, you grab onto the things that culture says and run with it and truly don't understand what your body is doing. So we learned a lot. There was lots of laughs, lots of tears along the way of really understanding what was happening, but it gave me control. I had control. Mm-hmm. So anyway, learning what my cycle was doing, I was pretty to the T, like in terms of like knew what to predict along the way. But month after month, nothing was happening. And we were open to life. I wouldn't say we were completely like hardcore trying by any means right in the beginning, but open to it. And my family has had such easy stories. There's 8 of us. My siblings have all had kiddos. There hasn't really been an infertility journey. So I didn't know what that was going to look like. But I knew in my heart of hearts that I wanted to become a mom, and it was taking too long. It didn't matter that it was only 6 months, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's 6 months of yearning to fill what I know God was calling me to my whole life. And so working with Jamie, trying to understand what was going on. I remember going to an appointment at the clinic, like to have a yearly exam. And I'll never forget the words that were said to me that day of, it hasn't even been a year yet. You still have time. Mm. Oh my gosh. Mm. That's the last thing I wanted to hear. Mm-hmm. Like, do you see me? Do you see how deeply I want this? Mm-hmm. And that I know God is calling me to be a mom. Those were not the words that I wanted to hear that day. And I remember walking out, and I am a very emotional person. I hold my emotions on my sleeve. God protected me. I didn't cry in front of them, but I walked out and I was bawling. Mm-hmm. I just was bawling. I'm like, that tore up my heart. But all of a sudden I heard this audible, trust me. And I was like, oh, what? And I turn around and I remember, because, people have said, God's talked to me. I'm like, you're crazy. You are literally crazy. God does not talk to you. But I heard this audible voice, trust me. Mm. And so that was kind of what I would say was the pivot point of this journey of faith for me. Seth, I love Seth. He's an amazing husband. We have our good times, we have our hard times, but he didn't deeply know how rooted this mom heart of mine was, because he's my husband. He doesn't know that, but God knew what he was doing. He was like, I need you to hear me. I don't want you to hear the world. I need you to hear me right now. And so that was the pivotal point in the journey. Again, that was right at the beginning. We were charting, we were doing the testing, blood work and those kinds of things. I, come to find out, definitely low in progesterone was one of the main things, which you guys talk. And there's so many stories of that, that I hear of women too. And so low on progesterone, understanding what my body was doing in that, being offered many things, like let's supplement some progesterone. Maybe we could try some other things as well. HCG, there's some just different abnormalities of my cycle. So let's try some things. But in those moments, I would always pray, like, God, please tell me what the answer is for this, and take a breath and not just dive into the next thing. And I'm so thankful. And he just kept saying, trust me in those times. And for me, that was saying no to some of those options that were great, wonderful options, beautiful options. I didn't feel like it was right for us.
Okay, to all of our listeners, and I know that there's quite a bit of you who are fertility care practitioners and fertility awareness instructors of some kind or another, right? So as a good friend of Danielle's, I remember her saying, no, I'm not going to do the progesterone. I don't think I should. And I'm like, what? It's like not an ethical issue, right? And she's like, I know. And I was so confused. I was. And so I just have to tell you all, like, if someone's like, I really feel like I shouldn't, respect it. I think I was startled and confused, like, what? Why? But it was a reason. And like, as Danielle explains, you're going to understand a little bit more about what she discovers through saying no. But go on, Danielle. I just wanted to say that from my perspective, I couldn't understand that, right? When you said it.
No, and it's so funny you say that, because now being an educator as well, you're like, well, do the thing, like, let's do the thing. And so, but also there's a point of view that needs to see more than just that physical aspect of that cycle, right? There's more involved. There's a spiritual, there's an emotional aspect of a relationship within what is happening there. And so within that relationship, with my husband, there was just some things that we needed to work on emotionally. And so knowing if I was saying yes, kind of in a selfish way, yes, give me that thing. I want that fix. Let's fix it. I knew there was this other piece that needed to be worked on too within our relationship. And so saying no to what felt like a quick fix, if I could say that in quotations, was saying yes to our relationship and our marriage and what God intends for that and the building of our family. And so again, there's just a lot of pieces there, but knowing that I had a means of figuring out what was going on, and I could say yes, I could go get some, help and understanding around what was happening. But again, working kind of back here on this other piece needed to happen first. So again, working through this, working on our relationship, we ended up stepping back into the medical world, if I could say that. I always say the regular medical world, because we live in this beautiful world of looking at women holistically. So when I say regular medical, I don't mean any disrespect to people, but just kind of coming in and getting a quick fix, essentially. Going in, somebody said, you should go see this physician. They help people get pregnant all the time. We were desperate by that point. It was like 3 years into this journey, and there was a little piece of me that went away from God, of what he was calling me in that faith journey. So coming to this position, walking in, I was a number. I was the person that was infertile, and it had been over a year, and they did not see me in that any other way than physically. And that was devastating. I remember bawling because the only option that they gave me was IVF. And I knew for us, that was not at all the answer in building our family. For us, we knew that in our heart. I remember bawling and thinking, this is not where I'm supposed to be. And at that point, any medical advice from NAPRO technology had been via virtual or over the phone, actually, because we didn't have a physician here in Waterloo at that point. And so once that piece came into place here in Waterloo, I remembered, I had talked to Jamie, and she's like, you should just go see this doctor. I mean, he's getting trained, all the things. And I'm like, okay. And I remember calling, and when you're at that point of being so desperate, you want it to happen within hours. Because if you have the courage to call to make an appointment, you don't want to wait a month. And I remember thinking, we're going to have to wait a month. It's going to be forever. And they got us in literally in 2 days. And I was like, praise God. Like, I think this is the answer. Like, I just need to be seen. That was kind of where I was at in that. So I'll never forget, we walked into that office, and it was like, like, that's how I can describe it. Like, just this beautiful peace came over me. And it wasn't saying, you're going to get pregnant tomorrow. It was like, okay, you're back. Like, you're walking with me. I'm right beside you, and we are doing this together. God was calling me to that space. So Seth and I went. That appointment was literally 2 hours long. That was also filled with tears. But by the end of that, he knew not only our physical pieces of what was happening, he knew us in a spiritual like sense of what we were wanting and how we wanted to build our family, and emotionally. And I cannot tell you now, being able to walk with our clients that call Guiding Star in that way is like the gift of all gifts to me. It's like, I feel honored to be able to be a part of that, because I remember everybody that was in that story that I had that walked with me in that way. So being seen holistically and not just physically when you're desperate to fill this void of wanting to become a mom, I mean, that's my goal. I never want somebody to feel like they're not seen in that.
So Danielle, why don't you, since you kind of went two different routes, you could say, in terms of finding answers for your infertility journey, if you can just give us an idea of, beyond just not feeling, seen as a person and the kind of holistic part of it, what did you see as a difference in terms of the approach to, tackling your fertility and understanding what was the root cause of your problem? So the difference between, those two different doctors that you went to, and then maybe help us understand what NAPRO technology is from your perspective, since that was, I think, ultimately what helped you achieve pregnancy.
Yeah. So kind of, walking into the regular medical world felt like a one size fits all, I think is what I could say. Walking in, I felt like I was just kind of a number, and there was no explanation of what I was going through, or I couldn't give that explanation of what our journey had been. It was just like, here's the numbers. This is your chance. Really, there's no chance. Here's the route you get to take. There was no asking of what we were wanting, like no conversation, basically. To be able to make an informed choice, it was like, this was your only choice, essentially. So then coming into NAPRO technology and having a physician not only see on paper what my chart, like what charting looked like, what my cycle was doing, and understanding Seth's side of it as well. We had two things against us. He had some things with him, and I had some things on my end. And so that was also working. We just weren't working together in that, and having our doctor understand what that was, helped me feel seen. And I don't know if that answers your question, but just realizing that there wasn't a one size fits all for this thing, I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if, Danielle, you're open to sharing a little bit more, but can you give us an idea of kind of what particular things that were found in either your charting, or what things are undercovered, or was it just hormone imbalances, or was there anything else that really, kind of was the things that you needed to work on that ultimately led to success for you?
Yeah. So it was hormone imbalance, for sure, with that progesterone level being low. There was no underlying like PCOS or any other condition that was told to me. And so it really was that. However, I would say, when I look at that, when people, mean well and they say, you just need to relax, and they mean well by that statement, but it's true. If I would have understood the cycle of stress and progesterone, cortisol levels at that time, and somebody would have explained that to have me envision what my stress was doing around becoming a mom, wanting to become a mom, I think I would have been able to help my body understand, like, what are the things that help reduce my stress? What am I doing that's making those cortisol levels go through the roof all the time, all those things. I wish I would have known that at that time, but really it was the progesterone. Low progesterone was, my luteal phase was not good.
Danielle, did you end up doing then the progesterone to achieve pregnancy, or was it the supplementation?
No. So that's where, really God came into play. And so when we achieved pregnancy, then in 2017, I had just actually transitioned to a different job, becoming a postpartum doula. And we got our first positive pregnancy test in April of 2017. And it felt very unreal, very like, is this actually happening? I'd never gotten a positive pregnancy test before. But ultimately, it was that surrender of allowing God to just come in and say, this is the time for you. And I know stress had been reduced in those moments. So it did help. So to all the people that told me to relax, I ultimately did, but please don't tell people that. I know that you mean well. But that's one of the hardest things to hear in that time. So anyway, so I didn't actually supplement that luteal phase before that, but immediately got into the doctor and was able to supplement progesterone then after receiving that positive pregnancy test, which I was so thankful to have that knowledge and be a part of that care, to just kind of have that extra protection of boosting that in my body when I needed it. So
Danielle, what I love so much about this is, so you gave us a little bit of background, like your heart's desires to be a mother, right? And so for all those who are listening, it's never intended that we give any sort of quote unquote false hope at all. But what I'm hearing you say, Danielle, is that, which I love, and I think that's like the theme of this episode, is we're beyond physical. You felt like even the difference between you seeing the regular medical doctor and the NAPRO, that they just saw the physical. But then also there's this whole idea of timing and these other ways that we need to be seen as people, because when we aren't, we can feel like objects, truly, we feel objectified. I mean, when I think of objectification, I think typically we think of sexual objectification, but there's ways to be objectified that aren't sexual. It's just basically not seeing your humanity. And so I think what's key in this is that because you went through that experience, now you're impacting women in a beautiful way, because another thing you said that I love is that women going through this journey that's very hard, they remember people on the journey. They remember the person that was like total rude. They remember the person who was very loving and kind. They remember every part of it. And so by knowing that, and by you and the staff at Guiding Star, and, we have Guiding Star centers around the nation, and there'll be more hopefully soon. Just knowing that you can be a part of that story in such a meaningful way is so beautiful. So
yeah, I'm so thankful again that, thankful for the journey, really, which is hard to see when you're on it. But when you come on this other side, that you get to see the beauty of what struggle actually brings. And if I can say, I look at Bentley all the time, and he's amazing. I love him. God made him perfect for us. But he can disappoint me, right? He's human. He can frustrate me. He can make me sad. He can make me all the feelings. But when I actually look at him, I see joy. And the joy comes, in my heart because of the faithfulness God had in that story of writing, him coming into our lives. And my mom's story, I just have so much joy, and, for being able, again, to have that be our story and the struggle, but then to be able to sit with other women who want to be a mom and be a part of their story. I mean, again, I'm so honored. And I did write a few if you have somebody in your life that's struggling with infertility, I just have a few comments to you. Like, we just need space. We need space held for us to be seen and to be heard. And so if you have someone, the advice that people want to give, they mean well. I'm so, I understand that, and I can extend grace to people when things are said. But some of the things that are just hard to hear is, you have plenty of time. You're young. I remember hearing that all the time. Everything happens for a reason. Just relax. It will happen. Those are things that are just really hard to take in when you're in that feeling really of desperation of wanting to be a mom after whether it's 2 pregnancy tests that come back negative or 25, it doesn't matter. Like our heart's there to want that, and that seed is planted. So just sit with them. They don't need advice. Sometimes I just needed to cry. I had an amazing friend that would just let me cry and say no words. And that's what I needed. So I just, that's my challenge to anybody that is in a relationship with somebody that is going through that. Sit with them. Just hold that space. So.
Beautiful, Danielle. Okay, so we're nearing the end here. Danielle, your story is so beautiful and so important because, again, I don't think we've had anybody yet on our podcast where this is the story specifically, and that they're using that experience then to like even serve. It's such a beautiful thing. So what do you wish every young woman knew about her hormone genius?
I would say that you were created with intention and purpose. God created you for something here on this earth, whether that's a part of a career or, becoming a mom, a wife, whatever that looks like. But you were made for a purpose, and to just be open to say yes, especially to those feelings that the world would say, that's crazy. Because that's usually God calling you to something just beautiful. So just to be open to that, to understand who you are in just this beautiful light that God created you for. But you have purpose and you're made with intention. So I love being able to sit with young women, especially. I love to sit with everybody, but just to get to know them and understand their heart. That's what all of us women want, is that community and to be understood. So just be open to say yes to what God's intended you for. So,
yeah. Teresa, do you have any last questions here before we wrap up?
No, that was beautiful. Thanks, Danielle. Thanks. It's a beautiful story. So happy that you have a little Bentley.
Yes, I'm so happy too.
So how can people find you, follow you, learn more about you, Danielle?
Yeah, if you check out guidingstarcedarvalley.org, my information is on there. You'll see a lot of our contact information goes directly to me. So if you're just questioning, like, what is this Guiding Star place? Or if you just want to share your story with me, if you're walking an infertility story, I would love to sit and listen. You can always give us a call. There's information on the website. Everything's free for care consults, which people can never believe. I'm like, yes, we just want to love you and listen to you. That's a really big piece of what we were created for in community. So just, check out guidingstarcedarvalley.org. You can find me there.
Awesome. And you do phone appointments too?
Yeah, phone appointment. Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Very good, Danielle. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us. And I know that your story will just strike a chord with so many of our listeners. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Danielle.